Hello. Yeah, can you guys hear me? Apologies, I lost my connection. Hello.
I hear you.
Hello, we can hear you.
Oh yeah, apologies. I had to switch my network all over again. Yeah, so I was going to.
There's noise there. There's so much noise there.
Please mute if you're not speaking. Okay, so I think we're fine now. Okay, so digital as a tool was leveraged to unite us as a nation. We were able to generate a viable database, and this tool was also used to speak up in one voice for a common cause. I'll move to the brief background of how Lagos Digital Summit was established in 2017 out of the need for a platform to facilitate the convergence of great minds and empowerment that push the frontiers of innovation across various spheres in Nigeria. Since then, we've successfully held 3 back-to-back annual editions and also been nominated for 2 different awards and listed alongside Social Media Week Lagos in 2019 as one of the best digital summits in Nigeria. On this note, I welcome you once again to Lagos Digital Summit 2020. I'm Wale Adetono, they call me Slim Fit, and I'll be your host and moderator for today. So let's move right straight into the questions for the panel members, I mean. Let me start with Kate Henshaw. Like I said earlier, she'll be leaving us shortly for a very important session. Kate Henshaw, so as a veteran actress, how has digital media helped in the advancement of the Nollywood industry as compared to the days of the conventional media? Do you want to take that?
Yes, good morning. Good morning. It's afternoon where I am. Good morning, everyone, and all the participants here at the Lagos Digital Summit. I will say that I had the opportunity to be in the time before social media, be in the time after, during social media. It was a lot harder before now because we didn't have these tools freely available to us. People had to rely on posters on the walls, posters in the market, posters in different buildings, television stations, to promote your movies. But now with social media, you have the different actors appearing in different productions, all posting and telling all their fans and followers about whatever it is they're doing, their lifestyle, the movie industry. So it's so much easier to connect with people across the world, I mean, back then, it was just maybe in your locale, in your city, in your state, in your country, and you would have to transport whatever it was you were doing or whatever you had done across the water in whatever mode of transportation. But now, with social media, just on your phone, you can reach millions across the world, you know, with the tap of a button. It's so much easier, but then also has its downside. But I would not focus on the downside because that's like on a personal note. But for all good intents and purposes, social media has really, you know, expanded the Nollywood industry, the film industry, the entertainment industry, even the music industry.
Okay, thanks very much for that apt response. So that I'll move to the next question, which is, I mean, still with Kate Henshaw. EndSARS protest has gained international recognition, like we all know, and supported by many across the globe. And we know the vital role digital media played in the realization of this cause here. So what is your take on the proposed social media bill and censorship of the social media space? Especially knowing that that's like the only voice of the people.
Censoring of the social media space is something that I do not support in any shape or form. I mean, how then do you want people to speak? This is about the only way that people get to express themselves, especially in Nigeria, because there's no other mode. You can't reach anybody high up there in office, even the people on the ground. You cannot, there's no cohesiveness, there's no how do I say, other means of communication. We have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, we have Zoom, and that is where we all coalesce as a voice, you know, to speak our mind on issues bordering on so many things, humanity, on social life, politics, on making the world a better place. So
Okay.
if you want to stop or, shrink the social media space, that's totally repressive. I'm not in support of it at all. And anyone who is supportive of it is a dictator, is someone who doesn't want to hear criticism. You must listen to the voices of the people. It's not about hurting you, it's about making you better and making it better for all of us. I mean, we have other acts. We have the Cyber Law Crime Act that takes care of anything on the internet. So why are you targeting social media? I mean, it's not that hard to be able to listen to the truth.
Okay, yeah, so let me move to Taiwo. And my question to you will be, so as a top PR and comms professional with Google West Africa, I know you guys are doing a lot of work in helping individuals and SMEs scale their hustle and leveraging digital platforms. And of course, I know you guys are into conducting several trainings for SMEs. What are the barriers to digital media playing a role in nation building from a Google comms and PR perspective?
Thanks for the question, Wale. Good morning, everyone. I mean, these are conversations a lot in the tech industry with executives who make decisions around how to get in the hands of a lot more people. There are a few issues, and the first I would say is access. Access being we need to help get a lot more people online, and I'm sure most of us have heard the conversations being heard about the one-sidedness of conversations going on social media, and how sometimes uninclusive those conversations.
No, I think we lost Taiwo. I think his network is poor.
It's bound to happen.
Are.
Okay, yeah,
You think about, you really truly understand the pulse of what is going on in media, and you literally listen to people. Other issues are, oh, I'm sorry, I went off.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So other issues, so the first is access, getting more people online and helping to ensure that the conversations going online are very inclusive. And that we're able to bring a lot more people, get a lot more views, and that our views are very balanced. So that's the first. The second is education as well. Some of the things that many of us have taken for granted they're not commonplace for everyone. Early this year, we ran a study at Google to try to understand how people who are coming online for the first time and people who are using smartphones for the first time and how they use these devices to connect. So little things as knowing that, the kind of people to follow, and I can follow people like Credential or follow people like Wale if I wanted to get X particular type of news, or the right people to follow for one type of news is really, really difficult. You have people who sign on to
yes.
and don't understand anything. You don't understand how to use social media tools as well. Just beyond getting online and how to just ensure that when they get online that they're getting access to the right information. The third is just democratizing information in itself and helping to ensure and making sure that people understand that there's not one source for info. Right? You have to take information from different sources. You just have to listen. It's funny that a lot of governments around the world turn to social media when it's time to drive elections or it's time to drive votes. But when it's time to take the pulse of the people regarding regulations or performance, they're not very accepting of it. So it's just making sure that even beyond just people themselves, even government officials, even public officials understand the role that it plays, and just helping them to open up their minds And I think the last thing I would say is education and sort of public advocacy around, government advocacy around ensuring that activism stays as a critical output of social media. And that governments need to understand that activism is really important in nation building. And social media plays a big role for that. We all cannot think the same. I mean, the moment we begin to think the same, then our views are not diverse, it's not balanced. And one day you find out we're all just going in the wrong direction. We have to take everyone's pulse. Right or wrong, let people air their opinions and let's put them to test and let's all have those conversations that are important. Make it okay for people to voice out concerns and make it okay for people to talk. At Google, some of the things, and these are some of the policies that drive the way we think in the company, helping to make sure people are able to connect and that when they connect, the connection is good and that they can afford it, helping to make sure that even when they get online, they know what to do online. It's not just about making the most of your presence on social media. It means you have to understand what to do. I think I'm just gonna pass it back to you now, Wale, and hear other views.
Well, thanks for the elaborate answer. That would take me to Tunde Omotoye. Tunde, you are a renowned expert for using social media, your platform to share practical information, for millennials, which has proven to help in the area of digital skills, human resource, career advice, and all of that. As a Canada-based Nigerian, comparing the level of development of both countries, do you think the Nigerian government has leveraged digital media for the growth and development of its people? I know we have so many grants, the Empower, Trader Money, and all of that by the federal government. But do you think we're on the right track for the kind of development we envisage as a nation?
Thank you, Ali. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting
me.
Morning. Thank you for inviting me to the Lagos Digital Summit. So I'll first of all say, answering you directly, personally, I would say we are not on the right track, right? So why do I say this? First, these initiatives you mentioned, Empower, Trader Money, they are very good. Don't get me wrong. They are really, really very good. But how are they disbursed, right? How quick are they disbursed? Right. I'll give you an example of when COVID struck here in Canada. Nobody expected it. It wasn't as if anybody was waiting for the pandemic to happen, right? And then they had some sort of strategy in place of how to disburse funds. But when it struck, everybody had to start working from home, right? But what you would notice is a month after we actually started working from home, a lot of people lost their jobs. But that did not stop the government from sending out and giving out people funds, those especially who lost their jobs. And in about a month, that initiative was already established. People were able to get funds, at least every month for 4 months, and they were able to get funds, every month without delay. And how were they able to do this? Because they had infrastructure in place already, right? You would have a system where everybody has a unique identifier, which is your SIN number, something you will see as your BVN number, right? Fast forward to about 8, 7, 9, 10 months later, NSAS happened, right? And then a lot of lootings started happening. Then we started to realize that there were actually palliatives that were stored in stores, warehouses. If we had the infrastructure in place, if we had strategies in place, if we were able to leverage on technology, we wouldn't need to do all that, right? You would have a system where you could identify somebody who's living thousands of miles away just by looking them up in the system. We don't have that system in place, right? So that's why I said the initiative is very, very good, but how quick are they being dispersed? Right? Are you just going roadside or knocking on doors or having people line up at the local government to share money in this time and age? Do you understand? So that is why I started with, I don't think we are on the right track, right? And what stakeholders are the government working with? You have people like Paystack, like Flutterwave in Nigeria, right? Paystack got acquired for $200 million in Nigeria, right there under our nose, or right there under the federal government's nose. Those are the people you need to be working with. Those are the people you need to, have within your space to understand how can we move things quicker, right? How are you guys doing? These are the people you need to engage with. It's not to the extent that you want to silence them, right? These are people that are making things happen around Africa itself. Flutterwave, for instance, you can move money around anywhere, anyhow, quicker, right? And going to my next, what's it called? Point, right? I would say we are actually hoarding things, we are not working on the kind of, what's that word now? It's going off my head. We are not trying to engage the right stakeholders, right? For instance, all these folks who managed and spearheaded and oversaw the movement of funds during NSAS, what's it called? During the NSAS campaign and during the protests, right? You could see that they were sending out lawyers across the nation, right? Do you know that these guys didn't have this structure in place? It wasn't as if anybody actually was planning 6 months before. They didn't have to set up committees, right? They didn't have to set up committees and waste money to sit down around tables, around closed doors. These were things that were happening on the spot. And how were they able to do it? They created groups. You have WhatsApp, you have Telegram, you have people creating, what's it called? The Feminist Coalition website and all that, being able to move things quicker. And you do this through digital tools, right? You don't try to silence people and say, oh, let us create something and say, oh, you know what? Your voices should not be heard. And I don't think I have more to say about that. So basically, like I said, those initiatives are good initiatives that you mentioned, right? But how quick are they actually sending those money out? Do I have to wait 6 months before I get trader money? Do I have to wait 7-8 months before I get Empower? Do I have to keep lobbying my local government chairman before I get on the list of any initiative that needs to come to me, right? Rather than me just submitting or going online, create a simple web interface that the government creates. Go online, put in my information, my BVN and all, put in my account number. And that was actually how people were getting money here, right? They just went, and let me end this by saying, I know somebody personally who got $20,000 because his business was affected during COVID-19, right? Can you say that of anybody back home? Can you say that of anybody? And I'm not saying it them getting that money 10 to 12 months down the line. I'm saying them getting that money a month after they got affected, right? Because they simply went online, put their information, put the details of what happened during that pandemic and how they got affected, and the government disbursing that fund. And these are grants, not loans that you have to pay back, right? So yeah, I'll just return it back to you.
Thanks, Tunde. I mean, that's very interesting perspective. Are you sure that somebody? Oh, okay. Sorry, Taiwo. Are you sure that somebody is not you, Tunde?
No.
I'm not doing that so much. Maybe about 5% of $20,000.
It's not me. It's not me. But honestly, I actually know the person. He's a Nigerian. Funny enough, he's a Nigerian actually. He's in another province, but what he does is he builds softwares, right? And he goes to the library to use free resources. So there are some libraries that have like tech guys where you can actually go there, get free guys to work for you. But during that period, it was affected. So he couldn't get those kind of people. So he had to be hiring people online, right? And those are the reasons he gave when he was applying for that grant. And he got that funding for his project so he could continue his project at home.
Nice. So you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to add to some of the things that Tunde had mentioned. And Peter Drucker, who is like a really popular economist, said that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So you can put together all the culture and you can put together all the plans in the world, but if you don't have the right cultures to drive it, you're just going to be wasting your time, because eventually we don't even have we put together all these grant schemes and all these grant programs, if you do not have the structure to drive it, you're just going to be wasting time. So for instance, how do we ensure that we are reaching out to the needy in our society, to the people who need help the most? So the first question is, who are they? Where are they? How do you find them?
Yeah.
So no matter how great a plan you have, if you do not build structures, and if you do not build a culture into it, you're just going to be wasting the time, truly. Eventually, and what you're going to be doing is you're just going to be creating grant schemes to drive corruption. That's
Word.
People will see the holes and they will dwell on them and they'll steal the money.
Thanks very much for that addition. I'm going to take one last question from Kate Henshaw before she may allow her to go for a very important pre-arranged meeting. So this question is, so as a woman, do you think digital media has played any role in fighting gender bias for equal contribution to nation building?
Oh, of course. The media, I think now there are more voices for women. Before, you wouldn't hear a lot. I mean, these things happen, but we have more women in that space, in the tech space. We have more women being more vocal about the things they do. I mean, Tunde mentioned the Feminist Coalition. I mean, those are women that came together, held a cause, and disseminated information, funds, and resources without having to leave their homes. I mean, and that shows that if we have an equal society with each human being, because women are human beings, it's only in some parts of Africa and primarily Nigeria where they see women as second class. Every human being can contribute their quota, their resource, their mind, their humanity to make the world a better place, because you cannot move so much with leaving one part of yourself, because we are male and female, each human being behind. You need to garner all of your resources, all your strength, all your everything that you have, so that together you move as a nation, you move as a people, you change mindsets, you know, you discuss on topics that the rest of the world has moved so far on, and we're just trying to just catch our breath. And just as we catch our breath, they moved again miles apart. So we need to just be more accepting of everyone in total, and I mean everyone, male, female, young, old, and include them to make ourselves better. If not, we'll find ourselves just always trying to catch up, always trying, even though we look so nice on paper, all the screenshots and everything, but behind we're struggling. And social media and the media itself has given room for people to voice out their opinions, to show that I can do this, and it doesn't matter whether I'm male or female.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, because I mean, we've seen so many scenarios whereby, I mean, there's a whole lot of gender inclusiveness going on in several organizations, and we've seen that play out in social media also.
Yeah, but not in government. Not in government.
Oh yeah, and that takes me to your movie. That takes me to your movie.
For policies, because policies affect our lives. And we have inclusion of both sexes, if nobody even talks about the handicap, the disadvantage. Nobody even gives them a look in. You know, there's so much, a huge part of our society. We need to include everyone. We need to make everyone a part of the environment. It's very, very important that we don't look at just one sex. Even if it's just female, we don't say, oh, only women, or only men. The handicapped, the blind, visually impaired, the deaf. I mean, sorry to digress. You go to a bank, there's no wheelchair access. I don't know how many have wheelchair access. So you're saying that those that cannot walk do not have a space in your banking situation. But with social media, I mean, Flutterwave, you have Kuda Bank, you don't have to leave your home. People are going to go on those spaces because they're welcome there.
Actually,
sorry,
let me quickly add. Thank you, Auntie Kate. Let me quickly add, right? You would have here where you have things like the Disability Act, you know, and when you mention things like people don't have access, you know, to banks and all that, you have this Disability Act where if you're establishing a business, if you're establishing a company, if you have a physical space, it has to be accommodating of anybody, be it the blind, be it the person on the wheelchair. And you find that even where I work, right? Like you find a blind person coming to work without anybody coming with them. They just have their walking stick. Why? Because the roads are paved for the blind person. He can use his walking stick to tap and know where he is.
Yes.
Do you get the elevator is already, you know, accommodating
with Braille. Yes.
Exactly, with Braille. Do you understand? So it's very inclusive. The environment, the society is very inclusive, and I'm just trying to buttress that point that we are not accommodating everybody. It's just a set. Just a set
and so in that way we're losing productivity.
Exactly.
Because if everybody's not contributing, and you're not allowing people to bring their resources on board, how are you going to be more productive?
Exactly.
Don't let me start thinking of the abroad again. Don't let me start thinking of Canada again.
Sorry.
You know, to be honest, Wale, these are not. It's weird that we are having conversations around diversity and inclusion in a country that speaks over 300 languages. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is.
We should be way beyond talking about involving everybody and getting different opinions and perspectives. In 2020, we should be looking at a government that is very well split, so that we can do all this, and we do ourselves a disservice.
Yeah.
When you have a government that has very few or just non-existent representatives of some other groups, then we don't hear. The truth is, I think one of the reasons why nations, and including Nigeria, are at this point where we are having all these protests across the world is we're not hearing from the right people, and people are upset. You know, how many young people are really in government in Nigeria?
The ones that are there, are they doing well?
So again, I think diversity goes beyond age, and I think that's the challenge, that's the issue that we have.
I wish I could
then you say
to answer from the government's point of view. Sorry,
because you would say things like young people are in government, but young people picked from the same sack as the older people who were there. So they literally think the same way. They went to the same schools, they have the same friends, they eat lunch and dinner together. So the thinking is the same. How many people from very non-privileged backgrounds have been able to make it to government? To be able to say, you know what, guys, the streets in Bagada are really, really bad.
Yeah.
And that's why but you know, everybody lives in Ikoyi, everybody lives in Banana Island. When you talk about bad roads, they literally do not understand what the hell you're talking about.
No, they're so far removed. They are so
they are not in touch with reality. So that will take me to
I have to exit.
Oh yeah, I remember this 5 minutes.
I'm getting so engrossed in the whole conversation.
Yeah, I can
I
imagine.
wish I could stay, but I have a full day here in this country where I am, where in short they amaze me every day. But this is what we're talking about. Well,
I can imagine. Thank you so much for your time, and it's a pleasure having you here. And we hope to call on you sometime soon, and you answer us again. And
I will.
Do enjoy your Dubai trip. Have fun.
I will.
And buy goody when you're coming back.
I'll buy a gigi bread. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Question in the question and answer chat, so that we can take for all the panelists. So this will take me to Demola Adetono. Demola, so you manage.
Before you move forward, even I would knock even you as well and the organizers of the Digital Summit about the diversity of this panel. Right? I think you need a lot more. At the moment, you have just men on this panel. At the moment, I think
is out. Yeah,
balanced.
That's true.
I
totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, we'll do more to be more inclusive going forward. Thanks for that observation. And so, Demola, over to you. So you manage one of the leading PR and digital media outfits in Nigeria, Expose Nigeria. So digital media presents various opportunities, as we've seen across various platforms. I mean, recently. So we've witnessed how people blew, in quotes, people now blew on social media, doing comedy skits on Instagram and all of that. We've seen how people have been connected to various blogs for work via digital media. I mean, someone will just send a tweet, I need somebody that does this and all of that. And from there, the person gets a gig. How else do you think youth can leverage digital media to promote their hustle and stand out? That's to you, Demola.
Thank you very much, Wale. Yeah, I have 2 pointers here. How can they promote? That's one. And I'm sure most everybody knows how to promote. You know what to do, create your content and put it out there. Put it on YouTube, create a website, load in the information, have a page, fan page, and then, continue to create your content and continue to share. If you have little bit of advertising budget, put some little spend. And then, but how long do you have to do this for? And then after all these years, you do this. Do you have a sustainability plan? Because this is 2020, platforms come and evolve, platform comes and go. There are a lot of platforms that have been there that we don't see anymore today. So those are also one more thing to stand out. Everybody knows how to promote, so I'm just here to talk about how you can stand out. We also need to keep data very serious, especially if you intend to expand your business moving forward. Data is one key thing that you should take seriously. There's a case study I want to present. There was a time that it did a viral. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course we can, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Okay. So there was a time we did a viral song, "Sweet Boy," and then it was a trend. Everybody wanted to jump on the trend. We formed a coalition. They called themselves Sweet Boy Association. And then, from that movement, from a song,
I remember that campaign.
From a movement, they had a website, and then people wanted to join the force. Oh, Sweet Boy, Sweet Boy. Before then, it used to be Yoruba Angels, Yoruba Demons. And then it came in with a song, and then a movement, Sweet Boy. Sweet Boy, there was an anthem, and then there was an association.
There was
a website. Everybody went to the website, put in your data, and and they put in their data, and they get a certificate as a Sweet Boy, as a certified member. But indirectly, they have harvested our data, and then tomorrow, if House the Bagger has a new movement or a new project or a new song, he has data of thousands of people that he can push out to. Another person that also keeps data seriously is Adekunle Gold, AGDB. I'm sure once in a while, if there is a new project coming up, it teases you. There's a weekly. Sometimes even COVID, it checks up on you, and things have moved from a one-way communication now. So it needs to be two-way. You need to stand out by that. Create a communication channel and make it easier to be reached. And then competition. You also need to make competition irrelevant. You need to hold your space. That's how to stand out. To remain uncontested. A lot of people want your space. A lot of people, the business that you're doing, somebody wants to push it away from somebody wants to work entirely to own that sport. Let's take the case of television channels as an example. Before you used to be Channel TV, best 12 times best TV station of the year. But low-key, deep down, there's an Arise TV, at the background, doing their homework, putting their best, doing their due diligence, putting in the effort, and then re-evolve it. That's key, because if you don't re-evolve, you will die. You get and let me also tell you a brand story, and the story of there's a guy, his name is Sikim, and then let's say we go back before COVID, maybe 20, there's no 30 December. So before COVID, let's say before COVID, February, let's say, there's a party, and then in this party there are guys, you know, and there's a beautiful lady. So let me take just one beautiful lady as a case study. There's this guy, his name is CQ, and there are other guys too, Monsuru, Wale Tunde, Taiwo, you know, a lot of people. And then there's this CQ, looking at the lady from afar, like, oh, this is the girl of my dream. And then CQ starts to move. All of that people, other guys too, other Wale, all of that Tunde, all of that Taiwo, you know, are also trying to make the same move. And then Sikiru goes to the lady, approach the lady, and then the first question Sikiru will say is, will you marry me? For somebody that you are seeing for the first time, and somebody that you have not had a relationship or prior relationship with before, somebody that you're talking to for the first time. So that's a very, very weak punchline. It's a weak punchline. It's very awkward, and then most businesses now today are like CQ. They just want to, you know, come in space. They want to sell to you. They don't want to listen to you. They don't want to groom you. They don't want to, you know, grow with you. They don't want to communicate with you. They don't want to sing to you. They don't want to gift you. They don't want to praise you. They don't want to give away. So a lot of businesses today, you know, want to be like CQ, and then you need to stand out. It's very, very easy. You need to have a prior relationship. You need to build it. Your consumers are, you know, they're emotional. Your customers are emotional. You need to, you know, it's a journey. It's a journey of 1,000 miles. So you can't just, you know, somebody can't just say, oh, there are a lot of, you know, people that are doing what you do. But what makes you stand out? What makes is the value. Is the value that you give. Not just all, don't focus too much on, you know, money. Focus too much on money and forget to add value to people. So there needs to be a relationship. A relationship with your audience. It's a gradual process. Business is, you know, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's very, very possible. So you need to, you know, commitment and, you know, some emotion to it. So you get tease people, tease it, go gradually, and, you know, before you know it, you know, you're on top of the game. Before you know it, you're making competition irrelevant. And then lastly, a lot of people think packaging is everything. Not sometimes packaging is not. It's not necessarily the brand. So what the brand is, you know, what you build is what you're building from the inside. Is your voice, is your color, is your style, your theme, your communication channels. That's how to, you know, a lot of people want to be a brand from day one, but you can't be a brand from day one. You need to first of all be yourself, and then gradually you evolve into a brand. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for that insight, Demola. So individuals should take it easy, watch the space, be mindful of competition, offer value. I mean, it's not just about making money, right? Thanks for that fantastic view, Demola. So I'll move on to Tunde now with the second question. And this is me digressing from Demola's point now. So Tunde, COVID-19 has been described as the chief transformation officer for individuals and organizations. I mean, especially in this part of the world. Companies have now been forced to adopt the work from home policy, leveraging various digital tools. How best do you think we can sustain this practice, or even broaden the scope for best educational and work practices? I want us to focus more on Nigeria now. I mean, as the case.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I know. I mean, from where you are currently, I mean, the policy right there, I mean, has been quite existing even before COVID-19.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Wally. Thanks for the question. So 2 things to address: education and work practices, right? First is education. I'll say the first we want to do is to equip our schools, our institutions, right, with the right technology and productivity tools that we need. And I'm talking of great infrastructures. You know, you're looking at having each school having their own servers, right? You're looking at a situation where lecturers, everything should be done, digitally, where lecturers should be able to upload your results, right? Where you should be able to upload your assignments online. You don't have to, hand over anything physically. And even if school isn't in session, it doesn't stop school from going on, right? You will find that, and I'm sorry to chip this in, you will find that when pandemic struck and people couldn't travel to Canada, and they already got their visa, their study visas approved, but they couldn't come to Canada, they were still in school even while they were in Nigeria, right? School was going on. So all they needed to do was connect through the internet, right? They could attend classes online. They could, get their resources online. Everything was practically tracked online. And I think that's what we want to try to also do, right? Getting that infrastructure in place, ensuring that lecturers are practically, able to hold their classes virtually, basically move everything to the cloud, right? And, we encourage the use of tools like Zoom, Microsoft Teams. Look at us now. We have people in different parts of the country, but here we are, everybody, we are in this summit because of this particular type of tool, which is Zoom. Right, so that is for the educational space and sector. Then for the work field, I would say it's quite hard now, right? Because many people are working from home. To some people, it was even new, right? Maybe they used to work from home maybe on Fridays, right? Maybe they used to work from home maybe once a week, but now they have to work from home every day. I would say what organizations want to do is establish daily check-ins. You would have, when you are at the office, you would have maybe bi-weekly one-on-one with your manager, with your superiors, right? Or weekly meetings, right? But it's changed now. You don't see people physically anymore. You are practically behind, the screen of your computer. So you want to ensure that, you establish that daily check-in. It could even just be a simple team chat where people will just share some sort of small talk just to get everyone engaged and know that, oh, I'm still here. Do you understand? I'm still here. I'm not just, it's not just me and the computer just doing my tasks, right? Another thing is we want to encourage that people have dedicated workspaces. And how do you do this? You give people stipends for creating dedicated workspaces, right? Organizations that can do that. I think I read it somewhere, or we actually had the conversation with somebody that Paystack, when the pandemic struck and a lot of people had to work from home, Paystack actually gave its employees money to set up, office spaces. We also got that here, even though most of us wouldn't need it because we already have such setting. But when you do that, it creates that, togetherness. It kind of creates that culture of, oh, we're actually moving to this next level, right? We're getting you comfortable in that work from home space, but create your space. And when you have a dedicated space, it really helps a lot, right? You know that when you wake up in the morning, even if you don't shower, even if you're still in your PJs and you just go to your workspace, you are already in that, mindset of, I'm actually now at my workspace, right? So organizations also want to encourage that, give people stipends, encourage people to have their own workspaces. And another thing is you want to try to strategize your culture in the sense that, when we were all in the office, or when people are in the office, there's more work politics happening, right? And that kind of affects the organizational culture generally. And when people are moving away from that structure, from that system, from that fence that inhibits them and that kind of controls the kind of culture within that space, there's no more organizational politics. It gets minimized. And what you want to do is you want to re-strategize. What kind of culture are we now going to be, moving on to? What are we going to change from? Where are we tending to? It's becoming virtual. It's becoming more of work from home going forward. Many organizations in this part of the world, we won't be going back to the office until next year fall. That's next year September, right? But you have to get people engaged. You have to ensure that you strategize on your organizational culture as well. So those are the things I believe that can really help to at least gradually ease people into that, working from home and, virtual space lifestyle, which I believe is actually here to stay. Before we used to say, this is the future of work. People, when it comes, there'll be hybrid of, of people working 3 days from home, 2 days at the office. It's no more. It's now every day from home. Right. So, and we have to gradually ease into that lifestyle.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sunday. I believe COVID-19 really came as a disruptor and enabler of some of the policies people have been looking for us to activate. I know before now, about 2-3 years ago, people have been talking about work from home policy and all of that. Yeah. But I mean, some organizations are very reluctant about, activating the policy. But like I said, COVID-19 is the chief transformation officer. I mean, people have no choice now. I want to also give an instance of an advanced study I was doing before COVID. It was a physical class, yeah. I had some of my class members then, about 2 or 3 of them that relocated to Canada, one relocated to the US, yeah. And I mean, we had about 6 or 7 months more, to the end of the program. And this guy is already paid. They already made payments. And because they wanted to relocate, so they asked the school, so what can we do? Relocating shouldn't stop this education of mine. Let me join the class via Zoom and all of that.
Yeah.
The school was like, no, blah, blah, blah. You have to start over again when you come back. Okay, no problem. They left, about 3 of them, yeah? Just a month after COVID came, bam, nobody was able to go to school. After about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, they had to re-strategize and school is back on Zoom. And these guys were like, I said to join via Zoom. Regardless of your location, they were able to join the class from Zoom. Yeah. So for me, I think COVID-19 is, it has its positive and the negative also. But thank God we are here. We're having this conversation, for relevant policies and all of that. My next question will be to Mr. Taiwo, and it's going to be a 2-in-1 question. The first one is, what is your take on fake news? How can it be identified and curbed in the digital space? Are there tools available on Google for this? You work with Google. That is the first one. Then the second one is, what is your take on the proposed social media bill? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but let me just, maybe you want to take it from the first one.
Okay, Wale. So I think the first thing is to understand a bit about exactly what is fake news. Well, a lot of times we call it misinformation, right? Because that's the intent. Yeah. It's to confuse people, and generally people who push misinformation are driven by motivations, and it's important to understand what these motivations are if you're going to fix it. One, the motivations of I want clicks, and I think that we in the social media space, I think those of us in the social media space these days, we call it chasing clout, right? People who are chasing clout, they're looking for clicks, or it might also be that people who are looking to drive traffic to a site for the purpose of money and whatever. You get what I mean? So addressing this it's really important. And one of the things that we'll do, and helping people understand how to identify what fake news is or what is misinformation, I think I'll give five tips. Number one, confirm who is the broadcaster or who is broadcasting it, right? So for instance, you would see someone who he lives, I don't know, he has no business in talking about the police, and he's the one who is coming to talk about, so something just happened in the police this morning. How would you confirm that? Or someone who says something is happening in Mars, meanwhile he lives in Kano. You would never, so when you get to understand who exactly is sharing it, it will give you an inkling into why the person is sharing it. So that's the first. Number two, and I think that this particularly happens a lot in Nigeria, read beyond the headlines. You have to develop a knack for reading beyond headlines. Many times, a lot of people intentionally use flashy headlines for the purpose of deceiving people. Read beyond the headlines. Please read the paragraph, read 2 paragraphs. Understand the story before you go and reshare to someone else. You as responsible for that information as much as the person who originally sent it to you. Because you then send it to someone else and then it cascades and then becomes a whole cycle of fake news. That's the third. The third thing is confirm their source. If a person talking about the police, what's their source? How would they know? So you have to confirm that their source. Number 4 is who else is telling the same story, right? And it's really important as well, because if you are going to go ahead and become a media on your own, you have to understand what's the source, who is saying it, who else is covering it. I mean, when you hear a lot more people telling that story, then you know. So for instance, last night, I was out last night and then I realized that ASU had a meeting with government and I was very eager to know the outcome of that meeting. But there's a particular page on Twitter, for instance, that in the last 3 or 4 weeks has been saying ASU has called off the strike, right? And one of the things that I do is who are they, where's their source from, who else is saying the same story? So once you check that, you would know. And then the final thing I'm going to say is look out for whatever media that goes with that story. So it might be a picture, it might be a video. People tend to use pictures and video a lot to spread misinformation. You have to check it. And there are tools that we have at Google that you can use. You can use Google Images. Sometimes you'll find that a simple search on Google search will help just debunk that entire story. And you'll find you can use Google search as well. On search, we launched fact-checking labels that now shows in search as well as in Google News. So if it's true, you would see a fact-checking label on it where Google says it's fact-checked. And that can help you know that it's either true or not. There's also a fact-checking that we launched last year. So it's almost like a Google search for fact checks. You know, so you put in the story, and then you can fact check it from there as well. So what are tech companies like ours, like Google, what we're doing to sort of stem the spread of misinformation and fake news is to tackle it from the motivation, from the root of its motivation. And like I said at the beginning, the motivation for people who do fake news, usually maybe people who are looking for popularity, people who are looking to chase cloud, people who are looking to make money from the traffic coming. So what we do at Google is we tend to place an emphasis on trusted sites over breaking news. Because you would find it's a lot of people sort of use this, oh, it's urgent, it's breaking. So we would surface, we have our systems have been trained to surface more trusted sites and authoritative sites, because for us, it's more important to be right than to be fast, right? Because sometimes you find that that's where the problem is. And we also declassify sites that have over time been proven to share misinformation and fake news. Because if you address the problem from their ability to be able to make money from it, then you probably would have fixed a big chunk of that problem as well. So we're not going to be directing, the systems are not going to be directing people to those sites, first of all. And then because you're not directing people to those sites, they're also not making the kind of money they thought they would make by propagating fake news as well. But in the end, I think individuals, you, me, my mom, my sister, we all play a big role in stemming the tide of misinformation. You have to develop a personal knack for questioning. And I think that's something we need to tell Nigerians. You have to question that information You have to be critical before you share. Each of us has now become a media organization of sorts, because then you go on WhatsApp and then you broadcast it, or then you go on your social media channel and you broadcast it to all these people. That, I mean, most of us have parents who send us all this weird information, and we all have to ask ourselves, "Mommy, nibo leti gbo kini?" And it happens a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's the first question that you asked. What was the second question that you asked, Wale? I can't remember.
Your take on the proposed social media bill?
So again, you'd have to understand. I like to think about these things from the point of view of motivation as well. You would see a lot of us grew more than half our years, and I'm even talking about people who are maybe 40 and below. We grew half our years before the internet became a thing, you know. So now you think about people who are much older than us, a lot of them in government, who are seeing how the power of social media and the impact that it's making. A lot of people are scared, right? And a lot of people are nervous. And many times when people are scared and nervous, they tend to make decisions that are sometimes not well thought through, right? So decisions around sort of stopping people from speaking, you know, or just censoring opinions. I've just never been an advocate for them. You know, I think it's important. These conversations are very important. We've spoken about diversity. We've spoken about inclusion. We've spoken about expanding the sphere of decision-making to include a lot more people. And one of the ways to do that is to allow the web work its magic, you know, allow the web work its magic. Again, there are rules that already, and as Kate had mentioned earlier, there are already existing rules in the country that also help address some of these issues around people just going around and spreading misinformation or fake news or stuff like that. But we have to be careful as a people to not be passing rules that generally stops the flow of information from the right set of people. You know, everyone is needed in a democracy, and everyone is needed in nation building. It's extremely, extremely important. It used to be that the only way that anyone could hear from you was to be on TV. But now there are people like Wale Adetono who have hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter who can share a different perspective to what somebody else has. We can hear from Yoruba people. We can hear from Igbo people. We can hear from women. We can hear from feminists. We can hear from Hausa people. You can hear from tall people, short people, sick people, healthy people. You can hear from I just got back here people. You can hear from people who have lived all their life here. I mean, think about the kind of impact that we are making and the kind of strides that we are making from hearing from all this number of people, and think about the impact that one law would have. And and many times we encourage government officials to think through decision making properly and think about the impact of that decision years to come, you know, and just, I think rather than being very hasty about making very serious decisions as that, we can think about alternatives, educate people, you know, run campaigns, help people understand why they shouldn't do it. There are so many people who don't understand the power that they have when they share information. Maybe we help them understand it. Maybe we launch campaigns. Maybe we work with influencers to try to help people understand a bit more. One of the things that you would have noticed in Nigeria, if you're following social media platforms in Nigeria in the last few months, is there's been this huge conversation around stopping rape and around stopping assaulting women, and around just helping people understand that you don't have to touch a female to have assaulted her sexually. And sometimes it's the things they say, sometimes the way you look at them. And a lot of us are learning, well, and we are learning in quite profound ways about how some of these things affect other people. So again, we can employ some of those thinking, some of that kind of thinking into helping to stem the spread of fake news and this misinformation around. And I mean, that's how I personally feel about it.
Thanks so much for the insights. Let me just add a perspective to buttress the point you made about misinformation and questioning the source of news. And I think this is peculiar to the older generation, especially with what they do with WhatsApp. My mom she's culpable, and each time she sends me a WhatsApp broadcast, and then the next thing you see her following up with a call. Wale, I just send this, send WhatsApp, check it. And I say, Mom, see, what is it? What? And I open it. This thing is too bad to be true. Is a lie. And when you open this ridiculous voice notes, videos, and I'm like, who sent? This is not true. I remember during the EndSARS protest, she sent one of those voice notes. And somebody was just somewhere in the corner of their room saying, they've deployed people from the north. There are plenty, in about 20,000 trucks. They are coming from Bega. We saw them, blah, blah, run away from your house. I said, run for waiting. Were you there? Did you see any truck? Where is the picture? Where is the video? And I'm like, stop sending this thing. Is even if you are sending to me, I can still correct you. Outsiders will not, they will just yab you. Please stop doing this. So I think, we have that collective role, as Nigerians, to try and educate people, everyone around us, maybe especially the older generation, on the proper usage of social media, WhatsApp, and all of that. Let's start pressing them to question the source, question the authenticity before sharing.
Let me add, Wally. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Taiwo, as well. Let me add to that, regarding misinformation. I think for me recently it was the Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, World Trade Organization DG role.
Yeah.
There were deliberations ongoing. She was not yet announced as Director General. But you will just see one news will just pop up. Oh, congratulations, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has been named the DG, and you want to congratulate, but you want to do it before it has actually been announced. It's already, been verified. So what I always do is I go to like CNN, BBC, all this news, this verified, these guys who are verified on social media, or even Google, to see the latest news. And thank God Google has that tool where you can, you can kind of tweak it and say, okay, I want the news from the last 6 hours. I want news from the last 5 hours. So I tweak it to check. If there's nothing, trust me, I won't tweet it until I see that there's a verified source that I've said Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has been named the World Trade Organization Director General. It won't come from me. So that's another thing I think, we need to also, imbibe. But thank you so much, Wally. Thank you so much, Mr. Taiwo, for that.
Thanks.
If I can add this, I think it's multidimensional. When you look at misinformation, it's multidimensional. Sometimes, and which is why we have to be careful about regulations and about laws. Sometimes what you term as fake news is just another person's perspective. For many years, the world believed that the earth was flat.
True.
You would see people who were literally going around talking about the earth is flat. They were not spreading misinformation. It was just a different opinion until better information came through. So imagine we now start jailing people for saying the earth. So you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say sometimes we have to understand people's motivation. And I think it's motivation driven. Many times you have to understand and educate people around what is right, what is wrong, and how not to use a lot of the tools that we have access to, because it's really, really important. We also want to encourage people to speak. We want to learn as well. The web contains years and years and years of information. So you think about, for instance, YouTube, for instance, has 2 billion logged in users every day.
Wow.
2 billion logged in users. You also think about people watch 1 billion hours of YouTube every day as well. There are 500 hours of content being uploaded on YouTube every minute. It's the amount of information people are constantly sharing. The amount of information that we're sharing in our generation is leading to some sort of a level of overload beyond levels that's ever been seen in the history of the world. You want people to share, you want people to learn. You know, so it's pretty important when we pass these laws that are, I mean, I'd like to call them blanket laws that doesn't understand the uniqueness of situations. That they're risky. Those laws are they're very tricky and they're very risky. You know, we have to be careful as people to not be seen as one in which, you know, as we would say in Nigeria, we're using our own hand to do ourselves. You know, because then you stop getting perspective from the right people.
Thank you very much. So let me take this.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting question. Let me take it to Demola. So Demola, digital media content, that's videos and images. They've helped in creating awareness for events and happenings all around the nation. Yeah. We saw the Desmond Elliot and Mujib Baleti's video and some viral videos during the protest. However, digital media has also brought about a significant spread of fake news. So this is taking us back to the question about fake news. How do you think we can stop the spread of fake news in Nigeria? I know Taiwo has shared a lot of information about this, but from your own perspective, do you have one or two things to add to this take?
My senior colleagues have, you know, said it all. Taiwo has, you know, educated me more on, you know, how I can use Google to fact check. And then there's something, Tunde mentioned the story of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. So me too, I want to add one more story. There's a story of this northern Hollywood lady, Rama Sada or something. You remember that, you know, there was a news, you know, that went viral that, you know, she was going to be beheaded or something, or hanged, or, you know, was a Sharia kind of law, kind of punishment for exposing some, you know, some revealings of her body. And then there was a news that it was an alleged news. So a lot of people also, we need to, you know, do better as consumers. So, you know, there's what we call clickbait. You know, they put out the news so that, you know, they can get more leads, so that they can get more people. So we also need to, you know, be wise enough, you know, as consumers, you know. So I think the government needs to do a lot of that. You know, private sectors need to do a lot of that. Google also needs to, you know, it's some sort of CSR. You know, fake news is big. You know, that's killed a lot of people. That's landed a lot of people in jail. You know, a lot of people are, you know, in custody because of fake news. You get. But our government as an example. Okay, I was talking about Ramasa, that's northern lady. The news came out that, oh, she was going to be killed, and she didn't say anything until like 5 hours later. But, you know, I saw the news. It was an alleged news that, oh, allegedly face or may face. I saw it and I went to her page. I didn't see anything. So it took her 5 hours to respond. Our response time is very bad. So, you know, sometimes they as public figures, you know, so to say, or government, you know, or celebrities, you know, they have to have their, you know, a team of, you know, not necessarily situation room, but, you know, a proper team, a proper response team in that kind of, you know, situation. There should be a reputation management team that, you know, channel all the necessary information. Oh, this is fake, and, you know, it's debunked immediately. Debunked. So back to our government. You know, like I said, fake news is very big. In this life, fake news is everywhere. So it is whatever you choose to digest or consume as fake, may be fake to you, may not be fake to another. You know, it's everywhere. And I like what all these, you know, social media platforms are doing. Twitter just started doing it recently. Instagram did it too with COVID, where if you talk about COVID and, you know, your information is wrong, you know, there's an information panel below your post that says, oh, this information may be wrong. Twitter has started doing it now. It started doing NSAS or immediately after NSAS. That, you know, fact or
I think
fact
they
checker
started
this
with
information.
Donald. They started with
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
God bless you. Thank you very much. So this information may be wrong. So that, you know, that's what I look at. Sometimes if you see a news and then you want to retweet the news, there's a multiplier effect when you retweet. You know, it begins to multiply. Before you retweet it, Twitter will prompt you before you retweet. Have you read it? You know, sometimes, you know, that's where clickbait, you know, comes in again. Sometimes the title of the story is not necessarily what's in the news. So sometimes before you retweet, make sure you read. So I like, you know, what Twitter is doing, what Instagram, you know, Facebook, all these people, you know, are doing. Me personally, what I use to fact check images are, I use Google Lens. There's this photo that, you know, during that Lekki massacre, you know, 2010, you know, of Blessed Day. You know, there was this photo that went viral of, you know, it was from an NYSC documentary or NYSC drama that, you know, there was a dead person, you know, they wrapped her around the flag and, you know, and the video and the photo has gone viral everywhere. There's no way you can recollect it back. It's gone. You know, it's fake news, you know, it travels faster. Especially when it is, especially when it is bad. Faster than the speed of light. That's how bad it is. So, you know, still on Lekki massacre, you know, someone who says, oh, we didn't send the soldiers. The army said, you know, the government needs to do well. They need to do better. You get, sometimes, you know, you go to the Nigerian Army page and, you know, there are some very, very true news that they will tell as fake. Someone who claims that he didn't send soldiers, fake news. Someone who said nobody died, fake news. Somebody says 1 or 2 people died. Army says we shot in the air. Lai Mohammed, despite the video evidence, he said that, oh, he is denying the 5 million naira hate speech. You know, so, you know, our people in the government, you know, the people that we look up to, or we are supposed to look up to, you know, they need to, you know, take care of their home. Their home needs to, you know, they need to send a proper message. So now, when your government tells you something, we no longer believe them. We no longer believe them, you know, because sometimes I don't want to call them their news fake, but sometimes it comes out to be fake. So, you know, we as a consumer, I think we need to, you know, we need to filter what we consume as fake and then what we consume as real. Let's take CNN and Fox News as a case study. You notice that throughout Trump's administration, all the news, you know, if you want to see all the bad things, you know, that Trump did, you go to CNN to check them. But if you want to see the good sides and, you know, the good things and projects that he did, you go to Fox News. So one belongs to Democrats, one belongs to the Republicans. So the same thing as our media in Nigeria too. You know, we have some media that are, you know, biased, that are politically biased. Some are, you know, partisan, some are not. You know, some are, you know, they are shaky. They don't know where to stand. So a news that is true to a PDP loyalist might not be true, might be fake to an APC loyalist. So it is we, you know, as a consumer, you know, that need to, you know, fact check and then do your due diligence before you consume it, before you now take a verdict. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for that detailed insight. I picked something from what you said, Demola. Google, and that's a challenge to Mr. T. Google need to probably start a campaign around fake news, how to curb misinformation and all of that. That's a challenge to you, Mr. T. So I'll take my next question from. Okay, let me take this from Sunday. This is my last question from Sunday before going to the Q&A. So Sunday, being a popular influence on the digitally inclined Nigerian youth, some of them are still far behind in the adoption and use of digital technologies to their advantage. Yeah, I know a university undergraduate that doesn't know how to use basic features of Excel. What do you think can be done to help the youth attain excellence digitally? I mean, you do a whole lot in dishing out some of this information, but I mean, what else do you think can be done?
Okay, thanks for that question, Wale. I think it still boils down to you know, the society where you find yourself. But then let me start this by there are two ways with which we can, address this. First is to the students themselves who are trying to learn, and the second is to the system itself, the government. And to the system to the student themselves, I'll say first you want to do is you want to prioritize your needs, right? If you know that you are not probably technologically inclined, or you want to kind of use digital tools to your own advantage, first is to prioritize the need. What do I need, right? What hardware do I need? What software do I need? You want to first of all understand that, and primarily we know that you will need a laptop. You're talking about Excel now, right? For instance, you will definitely need a laptop, right? You can definitely watch some YouTube videos about Excel on your phone, but practicing it, you will need a laptop because it's more ideal, and you definitely kind of learn better that way. So to the students themselves, you want to kind of prioritize the needs. You want to start from basically the foundation. What do I need, right? What tools am I trying to learn, and what do I need to learn those tools, right? So you have to understand that, and tools can vary, right? You've mentioned one, which is Excel. You have a lot of other tools, project management tools, so many tools out there, and it's actually dependent on the field that you are in, right? Somebody who is trying to be a software developer has to go and learn coding, right? And like I said, there's limits to what you can learn on your phone. You can watch videos, you can bookmark, you can do this, but when it comes to actual practicing, when you come to putting your hand on the keyboard, and actually doing stuff, building stuff, learning stuff, you will definitely need a system. If you can't get a laptop, you get a desktop, right? It's either or, and I believe both the functionality for both will definitely achieve what you want them to achieve. And the good thing is this: you mentioned that I share information. There are actually a lot of free online resources, a lot, although they can be overwhelming sometimes, when you try to navigate where do I get the right information. And that's where, you breaking it down to what do I need as a person, what do I want to learn, what do I want to achieve, where am I trying to go, right? Say for instance now, I like a particular app idea that I've actually sketched out, but I don't know how to build it. What do I do? Like I said, first a desktop or a laptop, right, that I get. And next thing is, what tools do I need to learn, right? What do I need to learn? What coding language do I need to learn, right? Okay, fine, that's the next step. Third is, where can I learn such languages, right? And a quick Google search will also do, right? Where you will definitely get, you find blogs who have actually helped to tailor down, say for instance, the top 10 best places to get free online resources, or the top 10 best places to learn coding for free, right? And then you can begin to look at them, each of them, check their reviews, and see the one that is, best convenient for you, maybe in terms of data usage, maybe in terms of how the classes are being offered, maybe in terms of the length of such classes, and then you try to kind of impute that into your own schedule, your daily schedule, right? Maybe you have a 9 to 5 and you're trying to achieve this by the side. Then you know that, okay, probably 2 hours every day is what I'm going to do. And then maybe weekends I have like 3 hours. And in like 2-3 weeks, you find that you've already completed a 40 hours, lecture, right? And many of this, excuse me, many of these courses come in such formats. It's always like 20 hours or 40 hours. And then if you're able to spread it, you will find at the end that you've learned a skill, and you've also been able to have that sense of determination of starting something and finishing it, so end to end. And that way you can, begin to build stuff and practice. So that's for the students themselves who are trying to, at least embrace digital technology and kind of move on from one stage to another. The second is the system itself, So the system, in the sense that we need to kind of change our curriculum, right? In many places, I still know, even while I was at the University of Ibadan back then, 2005, 5, we had people who were doing computer science and they were still learning Fortran, right? They were still coding in paper. They were still coding on the board. He shouldn't be coding on the board or on the paper. Even till date, I still find some people tweeting about it, talking about it, that, that exam was hard. How can I still be coding on paper, right? The system itself needs to, address that. And I always keep saying it. Outside of the university wall, in many of our societies, outside of the university wall has developed, has gone far, because young people have taken the initiative to build stuff, but the inside of the school system itself hasn't developed that much, and it's so unfortunate, right? And if we are able to change our curriculum and, somebody in school, if you're already learning Excel in school, right, even if it is just maybe the introductory level, even if it's just the, start, the foundation, and you are not actually getting to the intermediate or advanced level, even if that is the only thing you learn while you were in school, maybe during your internship, or what do we call it then? They say you should go and look for, forgetting that name, but I think it's COS or something like that, right? Even if it's during that process, you get attached. Yeah, you get attached to a platform that actually, or an organization where you get to learn these skills, on hand, like on the job. It will really help you eventually, and it should be embedded in the curriculum so that, people don't miss it. It's not until you get out that you now start struggling. Oh, I don't know this, I need to know this, So an entire overhaul of the curriculum, of the school system itself. What are we teaching? How are we teaching them? Are we still having people struggle with outdated, ways of exactly? People, I made an example of Fortran. Whereas today, many schools, you go to schools, you find that each student in some classes, they have dedicated desk spaces, right? In such, they always call them technology labs, right? In some of the developed schools. I know some schools in Nigeria also, they've been able to do this, some of the private schools, where students have dedicated desktop to themselves, where they can learn many of these tools, right? So if we're able to do that, to people who also really need them in our society, it will really, really help. And another thing is imbibing and embedding practical skills, and practical skills can range from a lot of things. It can even be your soft skills to emotional intelligence, right? But I don't want to go deep into that today, because that's another topic for another day. And I would say, to round this up, that's why you find that most times you see somebody finish with a first class, but when they are done, when they are outside, they struggle, right? They struggle to get jobs, they struggle to fit in, because the system hasn't actually prepared them for practical things. It's just actually prepared them to know how to read very well and pour it out, right? But those who know how to learn, who know how to pick up skills and learn, who know how to do practical things, learn these digital tools, you find that boys who haven't even done coding before. I know somebody who did agriculture at the University of Ibadan. He finished, but he had this flair for coding. He had this flair for computer, for dismantling stuff. He taught himself how to code and all that, and he became a senior software developer, right? So these are skills that you need, practical skills, right? And like I said, we just need to change that curriculum, at least for the system, impute things that people really need. The world is moving at a very quick pace. It's not waiting for anybody, right? They are sending, America is still sending people, NASA is sending people to space, here and there. We are still struggling with Fortran, right? We should at least be embedding little things like that can actually equip people. No, it's the truth. That can actually equip people, to want to do more, right? The guy that is finishing computer science in the university, he hasn't built anything. But he's holding an iPhone that somebody that has not finished school is building in China. Do you understand? You see where it's coming from. And then the lecture, and it goes back to what Mr. Taiwo said in the beginning. Culture. It goes back to culture, right? The average lecturer in the university is already 40. frustrated. He's already telling you that, oh, that's my class, right? Culture. He's not even ready to let you learn. He's not ready to even research himself to say, what would my students need? My own goal is to ensure that you learn these tools. My own goal is to ensure that you master these tools. My own goal is to ensure that by the time you are out of this university, people will ask you, who were your lecturer? Who taught you, right? And, you know, so that's where, those are the ways our address it, first to the student themselves and secondly to the system.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Sunday. I mean, I can attest to that fact, especially, I mean, talking about our curriculum. I remember back then in my university days, Fortran, and I think we had COBOL then.
Yes.
And then that's in the curriculum. But if you go outside the walls of the university, students, I mean, people are already doing Java.
Exactly.
You find it in the curriculum, Fortran that can't even build any functional programming language. The students can't even make use of it at all. I mean, students back then take it upon themselves to register in computer institutions, NIT, or what is the name of that one that was running back then? So I mean, and at the end of the day, you see talks about education, curriculum, and all of that. I mean, they don't really come to the forefront of all of these conversations. I mean, there's a whole lot to be done, and I wish, I mean, or I pray that it's not just about having these conversations. I pray, I mean, the relevant authorities, I mean, take learnings from me and implement. So my last question to Mr. Taiwo before we go to the Q&A session, how can we leverage digital media to create cohesion, unity, affinity, and connectivity with Nigerians? What do you think can be done? And also, maybe you might want to take it from the angle of how can we digitalize Nigerians? I mean, because there's so many, we have the numbers, there are so many people out there that are not even conversant with, forget Twitter, that are not conversant with digital media tools for their own advantage. What do you think can be done?
You know what? Well, I think it's going to be a bit of a process, although it has to be said that the process has started. It's first of all having the right infrastructure. You know what, before we even get to infrastructure, because I like to think about these things like a process. We need the right policies. You know, government officials, government needs to pass the right policies. And so for instance, there have been conversations right now ongoing around right-of-way payments and how telecoms companies have to pay a lot of money for right-of-ways across state boundaries, and how that in itself adds to their operating costs, and how that, and you know that every time operating cost goes up, it eventually passes to the user, or sometimes even the actualization of projects within a duration of time that was agreed cannot be achieved because what Ogun State is charging you 200 million to lay your cables. You have to pay Ogun State, you have to pay Lagos State, and you even get to local governments. Local governments also ask you to pay some money, and then there are all these major issues and loopholes that all these companies have to face. So even putting up infrastructure in places can be pretty difficult, you know. So we need to have a think about government policies, passing policies that are right, that will enable the spread of data access across. And the second is you have to think about educating people. And education is extremely important. An iPhone could be an iPhone in the hands of anyone. Or an Android phone can be just an Android phone for watching videos or playing games in the hands of anyone. But in the hands of really smart people, those are tools for building businesses. Those are tools for developing apps. Those are tools for connecting people. So again, we have to educate people around understanding how to use the power that they now have in their hands. We have to pass policies to bring in a lot more investment, to help companies that are currently running, to help them develop a lot more, and to help these companies do their business at a profit. Because, you know, at the end of the day, if these businesses are not able to do their business at a profit, why should they take internet to some city at the end of a boom or show? There's no point, because they're not going to make money from it. Particularly when the local government in that area is telling them to come and pay 300 million naira to lay the cables. And then the company is thinking, how the hell would I pay 300 million naira when I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make 10 million naira? You know, so I think a lot of those conversations need to be had. So how do we get a lot more people to be able to use and access digital tools in the interest of national development or national sort of growth? Is first of all helping these people get online first. When you get them online, you then educate them. But then how do we have these conversations going on? And I think we could see, you know what, to be honest, in the last few years, I think we're doing a bit better. We can do much, much better, but I think we're doing a bit better now. You would see that a lot of government handles, government parastatal handles now have social media platforms where they try to educate people around what they're doing. You see that ministers now where they try to tell you about what they're onto. There've been a few government policymakers who take comments via social media. And we've seen the police sometimes, the PCRU, they have a handle where you can go and report cases, and then they can take it up from there. You have, I've forgotten the man's name, I think he's Dr. Irukewa, the man who is in charge of public complaints around services and things. I've forgotten the name of that parastatal. You go and then they complain and then they take it up. A lot of these things, social media in itself, and we have to understand that social media is it's not the end. It's a platform that we can use to achieve our end goals. So probably have a think around using platforms like, you know, the digital summits and creating digital platforms or digital conferences where government officials can sort of and just have this kind of conversation. It's really important that we are able to do that. Again, I think, and I don't know how possible this is, but in the era of sort of data analysis and data collection, how are we able to think through collecting the sort of data that comes from people relating to governance and relating to nation building, right? Is there a way that we can build an arm of government which has the role of sort of collecting this kind of data that is coming through, so that we can actually have the true pulse of what people are saying and how people are reacting to news and information? So it's really, really important that we're able to sort of think through that. Yeah.
Oh, then thanks so much for that, Mr. Taiwo. So my last question to Demola. So guys, if you have questions, please type use the Q&A section. I have about 2 questions here already, but if you have more, please share so that we can ask our panelists before we round up. So my last question to you, Demola, how do you think youth can identify and shuffle between different opportunities in digital media and probably create multiple stream of income?
Thank you, Wale. So I like to hear that income, but I like money so much. So first of all, no matter how saturated digital media may be, no matter how saturated it may be, you know, the sky is big enough. Is big enough, very big enough. Look at our uncle in Canada. Works with the top, you know, big 5. You know, aside that, you know, look at the social media assets. You know, look at that's a proper, you know, proper blue chip company. You get that was, you know, that was leveraged on digital strategies. So first of all, I would recommend you have street credibility. You know, the wealthiest people are those who provide, you know, far-reaching products and services. You know, you don't have to be, Uncle Akin Alabi is not here, but, you know, you don't have to be too posh. You get, if you can be street, be street. You know, I learned that from Aki Alabi. You know, he's not here. You get, but have that street credibility. If you master the street, you own the wealth. It's very important. You need to identify the need of the people. These are what those tech people are doing. You know, those guys at, you know, at Google, that's what they do. They identify the need, you know, and then provide a solution. That's the badass way. That's the only way to, you know, make money, and that's a sustainable way. You know, you can make money and then it stops at a point, but identify the need, you know, and solve it. Or when before is doing it, you get is repackaging people. You get is a need, and then he's solving it. He has a solution to it. And then number two, you need to have the mentality of a Yahoo boy. Disclaimer: I don't support them, but you know, as a case study, you know, they are dog-headed people. They are dog-headed people. You know, I don't support them, but dog-headed people. When you see them, they say, "Oh, I will buy the Benz. Oh, I must make that money. Oh, I will do it." You know, if a Yahoo boy can be that hardworking, you be hardworking on illegal things. If you can be that, what about you that, you know, you have the knowledge, you have the resources, you have the people, you have the tools, you have digital tools, you have everything. If they can do it, then you can. So have that, be dog-headed, you know, have that mentality that, oh, I will make it. I won't give up on it. You know, don't be too quick to let go of, you know, the idea, except there's no way ahead. You know, and then there are hundreds of freelance businesses that you can do digitally now. Before people used to, you know, they don't want to be associated as, you know, social media marketers, so they repackaged it to different names. You know, content creator, digital creator, you know, the social media evangelist, social media strategist, social media coach, you know, Canva coach, you know, digital skill expert, and then different content creator, different names, you know. So hundreds of freelance social media jobs that you can do, and you can learn them online. It's easy. There's a university of YouTube for you. It's easy. There's you know, there are free online courses that you can take, you know, and then be a master at whatever it is. I study animal science, and then today, you know, I do a lot, and then I didn't necessarily go learn them. You know, I learned them online. So if all the tools are there, the videos are there for you, you know, deposited somewhere. Just, you know, do your research very well. You get. And if you are number driven, you know, like us, you know, creative, you can multitask. You know, you can handle projects. You have relationship with influencers, have relationship with social blogs. You know, that's another, you know, channel that you can make money from. You know, it's called media buying. You can set up your own agency, you know, or work as a freelancer in digital marketing agencies. You know, that's hot cake for now. You know, there are a lot of people. Then another hot cake too is social media managers. You know, you can manage like maybe 6-7 accounts. You get, I expose it. We can't manage all the accounts, so we are outsourced to people. So there are some of them they are handling like about 3, 4, 5 accounts, and then they get paid like 40, 50,000. They're small businesses, but you know, if you do the numbers, if you multiply it by, you know, number of pages that you're managing, that's a cash cow.
Demola, so, please send accounts to me. Let me manage. I know how to manage accounts too.
It's more money. It's more money. So don't let it stop at social media management. Don't let it stop at that. You know, try and, you know, add something to it. Maybe like video editing skills, or maybe Canva. You know, be a badass at your Canva. You know, be a pro. You know, there are some people that make money from just running ads for people. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I do Google AdWords for people. I do YouTube ads. I do Facebook ads. That's what I do. You know, they're ad specialists, and they make money. You know, because why? They understand, you know, the demography. You know, they tailor it to the last demography, which you cannot do. You will just do promote. You know, but there are more things like more than that. So you need to, you know, be deep into it. There are lots of freelance businesses that you can do, and you will be making steady money, like Uncle Tunde and Uncle Wale. And then work in the physical, amplify in the digital. You know, I won't open my mouth to say everything, but you know, there's some small businesses that you can do, you know, in the background.
We should do a master class on this, Demola. I said we should do a master class.
I don't mind, but it won't be free.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. That's why it's a master class. Thank you so much. Thanks. Yeah, we're gradually winding up. I think we should go into Q&A now. I have about 4 questions here.
Wale, before you go into questions, I think something is pretty critical, particularly with respect to what Demola had said.
Yeah.
If we're going to create a digital future for Nigeria, we have to be very intentional about it. And we have to be very committed to it, right? You think about what the announcement that was made by the UAE and I think by Dubai some years ago when they said they're trying to build the next tech future for Dubai.
Yeah.
And they committed the budget to it. We have to be very intentional about doing these things because it just doesn't happen like that. You have to create educational systems. You have to pass policies. You have to create budgets. You have to train and retrain teachers. You have to create compensation structures to drive it. You have to create an enabling business environment. You have to implement it into government practice and into our culture, that digital is going to be a part of our culture, because it's just not going to happen. We're going to talk about it a lot, and it will not happen if we do not make this, if we are not extremely committed to it. We have to be committed to it. And it takes taking a look at our current structures, for instance, and seeing how can we build digital into that? How can we create jobs? How can we go into universities and say, do you know what, we need you to start offering courses around data analysis and data technology in universities? Or how many Nigerian universities today offer 4-year courses that focus on social media, whatever? And a lot of those, we have to be very intentional about it. Because now what is happening is we're leaving development in the hands of individuals.
Yes.
People who study biochemistry, who then will have to leave and go and learn to code.
Exactly.
But the problem with that is it cannot scale. It can never, ever scale. You can't scale digital development. You can't scale your way into a digital future for Nigeria if you're leaving it in the hands of 1 or 2 people to train and retrain themselves.
Exactly.
As a government, we need to have a serious think about these things. You know, it's not about even attracting top companies like Google or top companies like Twitter and Facebook into the country. At some point, they're not going to find people to employ.
No.
Right? They're not going to, because we're not training enough people to help to work in these companies and to think about more innovative local solutions that we can build, that can be built by Nigerians and can be exported to the world. Who says Nigeria cannot build the next unicorn, the next tech unicorn that then beats and becomes bigger than the Google? You look at the economy of California as a state. It's bigger than many countries in the world because of the kind of output that is coming from a lot of these technology companies. And one company, Paystack, $200 million. Think about that. And think about the impact that we can make when we train 1 million people that become founders of companies like Paystack. But it cannot be done by haphazard planning. It cannot be done by just having you and I train our children to use computers from our own houses. It has to be done from nursery school to primary school to universities. And it's a lot of work, but it's something that we can commit to. If we decide to commit to a 10-year plan and say that, you know what, by 2030, we want 40% of Nigeria's revenues and Nigeria's GDP to come from the tech ecosystem, then we have to start planning it now. We have to start doing it now. I would mention that because again, you know, when Demola talked about outsourcing work, you know, Demola, you get to a point where you would want to outsource work, you would not find people capable enough to do it. You know, and that's going to be the problem. A lot more companies are going to come up requiring digital solutions. They're going to require developers. They're going to require coders. They're going to require social media people. They're going to require data analysts. We'll get to a point where a lot of these companies cannot simply operate in Nigeria because there are not enough smart brains to run them. So what will then happen is they'll be paying people offshore to run these things remotely. And then we keep saying that Nigerians don't have jobs. We need to take these things seriously, to be honest, you know, and we need to keep having those conversations, and we need to keep helping people in government to think about the possibilities of a digital future and the impact that we could make as a country. All right, that's all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We should round up now in about 10 minutes. Let's take, so I have one question here from one of our viewers, which goes, okay, this has been answered by Mr. Taiwo. This is from Elsie Godwin. What is the name of the Google platform for fact-checking news? Okay, I tweeted that on my Twitter handle, the Fact-Checking Explorer, that is the name of the tool. You can check on my Twitter handle. The next question is, following Kate Henshaw's position on proposed social media bill, I'd like to know what other speakers think about it. Okay, this has been addressed. So what we'll do is I'll upload the entire session on YouTube. We'll share the link. You can just find the link using Lagos Digital Summit hashtag and watch that session again, where all the panelists talked about their take on the social media bill. And this question is from NASA. How much impact can we make if we focus on the entertainment industry using digital tools? I feel that industry has huge influence. Okay, I wish Kate Henshaw was still there to answer this. Maybe I don't know if anyone wants to take that on before we. How much impact can we make if we focus on the entertainment industry using digital tools?
Mr. Taiwo can answer that. I think they did something with WizKid recently. It was, you remember?
Okay.
One of the things that we say.
30 seconds.
One of the things that we say is that for instance, digital platforms have become a main channel to the world. Nigeria's #1 export is not even crude. Our #1 export to the world is entertainment, and it's music, it's movies, it's storytelling, and technology and digital platforms help us do this. Those days it used to take weeks and maybe months for those of you in Canada to hear new Davido music and WizKid music, but now you literally hear it the same day. And we see and beyond just making sure that these people are making money and contributing to the wealth of the economy, it's also helping to export Nigerian culture and helping a lot more people understand who we are as Nigerians. And you don't get to understand this until maybe you get into a business dealing with somebody abroad and they say, oh, I know WizKid, or I know Davido, or I know Kate Henshaw. And that sort of helps to sort of break barriers in addition to other things. There's not enough time to answer that question.
Thanks so much. I'll take this from Joseph Edem. I'll allow Sunday to answer this before we round up. Our university sector are still being handled by old lecturers, some who are not conversant or up to date with the latest system of education and technologies. Okay, we talked about the curriculum here. Please, what do you think will be the solution to this and the way forward? So they want to take that 1 minute.
Yes, I think it goes back to what Mr. Taiwo said earlier. It's about policy, right? You cannot change the curriculum without a policy, in the educational sector, right? You have to start from the foundation. First, many of these lecturers themselves, they are handheld in the sense that they have to teach what is being handed to them by the university, right? The university itself is a body that is being governed by a certain sector, the educational sector, right? And many of them also have to answer, to the government, basically.
So then you even have lecturers who have to teach coding by using blackboards.
I know, exactly.
There are no computers.
Exactly, there are no computers, and these guys, there's limit to what they themselves can do. You don't expect a lecturer to now buy computers for everybody. There has to be policies in place where, you're actually kind of pushing money into this particular university or into this university, that this money is for this, right? And you kind of track it and monitor. You have plans, like Mr. Taiwo say, you have like a 10-year plan, you have a 1-year plan. In so year, we are going to ensure that each student that is studying this course has a desktop, assigned desktop, or you have this amount of 50 desktop in this particular course, right? So anybody who passes through that course will definitely have a desktop assigned to them. I have a lecturer teaching that course. So it all boils down to policy. It all boils down to the fact that we know where we are assigning this money to and what we are using them for, right? So, and honestly, if I was a lecturer in Nigeria, I would definitely also just teach the curriculum that is being handed over to me, right? I would definitely talk to the HOD. I would definitely talk, but guess what? There's hierarchy, there's politics, there's a lot of things going on, and there's little to what you can do. You'll just be frustrated at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't even think the challenge is around the age of the lecturers, but more around the content they have to deliver.
Exactly.
Right. If you have a lecturer who doesn't know about the coding languages that are being used to develop the applications for today and for tomorrow, they have no business teaching computer.
Exactly.
We have to diversify this a bit. So teaching software, for instance, or even hardware, there are lecturers who are much older who are lecturing.
Oh yeah.
So that means they understand it. It's about content.
It's about content. My lecturers here were much more older, like the old guys with gray hair. It's not about the age, it's really about the content and the system.
That means the onus is on the University Commission to do a whole lot of work. Okay, so I'll take these last two questions. The first one is, does LDS have plans around mentorship? I think we should have gone beyond advising. We need access to mentorship and all of. Okay, so for that, so many people on this panel are mentors. You can follow them on social media. Follow Taiwo at the Niger brother. Follow Demola Expose. Follow Tunde Tash on Twitter. I mean, so let's continue to have this one-on-one conversations with them for mentorship. So the last question: how can we use digital media to bridge the gap between the citizens and the government? I think somebody mentioned that earlier on. I mean, that gap is already been bridged using social media. Most of the government agencies have Twitter handles now where they disseminate information. They talk about progress, what is being done, development around policy making and all of that, where we can follow from. So, I mean, we've gone beyond that age whereby you have to sit in front of television to know what is happening in the country. You have to get someone to address the nation at every point in time. Yeah, so we moved beyond that. So social media has bridged that gap. I mean, people now have access to some of these government agencies directly. So the Niger brother on Twitter. So I think panelists, let's just type social media handles on that chat so that people can pick it. On this note, I'd like to say thank you so much to everybody, all our panelists, Mr. Taiwo, Mr. Demola, Mr. Tunde, Kate Henshaw, who is not here, and unfortunately, Akin Alabi couldn't make it here also. Thank you very much to everybody that's participated, and we hope to see you on the next edition of Lagos Digital Summit, and I hope you've all been able to take one or two things as take out from this session. Follow the conversation on social media at the Lagos Digital Summit. That's the hashtag. If you have any other queries, send or chat to any of our panelists. You can also follow them on Twitter using those handles there. I still remain Wale Aditono as SlimFit on social media platforms. Thank you very much, and look out for the recordings of this session on social media. Just click the hashtag Lagos Digital Summit. We'll upload the YouTube, the live stream link for those that missed it so you can watch. On this note, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Lagos Digital Summit 2020 is over, and I'd like to say thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. I'm sorry for no small chops this year.
Take small chops. Small chops.